Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the Nexus podcast. I'm very excited. I'm your co-host, M2 Dave, and I'm here with my co-host and the owner of of this YouTube channel, King Jr., aka Burrito Voorhees, aka Franco. Um, my friend, thank you so much for hosting. Thank you so much for having the idea to get this podcast started. Um, Say hi to everybody. Anything else you want to say as your part of the introduction?
Thank you, thank you. I'm really excited to start this podcast. I've been wanting to start it for a while, but now that everything's set up and I'm just ready to start having these podcasts, I'm really excited for this.
All right, man. I have to ask you. Obviously, the tournament in Mexico, the first Pro Tour event, just happened over the weekend for Mortal Kombat 1. I want to get your first thoughts on the tournament. Maybe just like initial thoughts, general thoughts. Go right ahead, please.
I'm really, I was really like happy with the turnout that it got. I think it got 287 entrances.
Yeah, I think it was close to 300, but not quite there. Yeah.
But Sonic was going, and Sonic was my pick to win, and obviously Sonic won. But it was still a really entertaining tournament. Like Groxer, I think was his name. It was a top 32 set, I think. Almost upset Sonic and winners, and there were some other entertaining sets too. But yeah, it was a really good first tournament for the Pro Comp.
No, I agree with you. I wouldn't say there are any surprises that that I saw aside from maybe Takeda, courtesy to Nicolas, as well as Lavender Rain, because that's a character I believe most people had kind of more on the lower side of the tier list. And then Nicolas he placed third, and then Lavender Rain he placed fifth, sixth. Um, I think that was probably to me the biggest surprise of the tournament. A lot of people, they may kind of watch this game casually, or they may rarely watch it, or they may even rarely play it. But if you're kind of updated in the meta, as far as how the game plays now, how much it has improved, um, I really didn't see that much new stuff. But I think the Sakita stuff is really, really interesting. And at least on my tier list, and we will do a tier list video eventually on this channel. Um, he's definitely kind of moved up and um, become definitely one of the more viable characters in the current meta. What do you think?
Yeah, I've always had Takeda even before some of his buffs at mid tier, like maybe mid low tier. I would say like mid tier, but I actually played with Sparks offline because he visited a competitor's house with us when we had a little offline gathering going, and I guess he's in contact with the Chilean twins a little bit, and he was saying that they were speaking really highly of Takeda going into ProComp Mexico, and I'm not sure how they feel now about Takeda still, but seeing the Takeda performances was nice and refreshing, and there was like I just felt like this tournament had like a huge variety of characters aside from like a very few amount of characters like Omni Man, Quan Chi, uh, maybe some others I'm forgetting, but yeah, it was really nice to see a Takeda finally because I want to say um, there's more Takedas outside the U.S. than in the U.S. because that's the scene I'm most familiar with is the U.S. I heard there's a really good
Yeah, and I think
Xbox Takeda. I forgot their name though.
yeah, I think that's a sign of a game that's developing, a game of that's improving. Like on Street Fighter, you have certain regions where I don't know, maybe you would know to an extent. Zangief might be mid tier, low mid tier in the U.S., and then at some point he kind of was, and then Japan kind of overrates him usually, probably because of Itabashi Zangief, right? So that's kind of good to see that that means that the game has some depth at least. That different people in different regions are exploring different strategies. And I agree with you 100%. I think that's probably the biggest uh, deal with the game right now. Because we remember East Coast Throwdown, first tournament for this game. It didn't really look very good in terms of character variety. I think there were like, I don't know, 50 Cyraxes, as cameos, and I don't know, like 35 Kung Laos, and then the other cameos were not even touched, if at all.
Yeah, here and there you might see a Baraka and a Johnny too, but yeah, a lot of it was like Raiden, yeah, Cyrax especially.
Yeah, I think the game has come a long way since that point, right? So I agree with you. That's probably the biggest change is the game has improved. It's a lot more fun to play. It's a lot more fun to watch, and I think this tournament in Mexico it kind of proved that point. Um, the character variety, the cameo variety is very conspicuous. Is very present, and it was fun to watch. It really was. Maybe one other character that's kind of been flying under the radar a little bit, but then again, if you watch these online tournaments, not particularly, it's maybe like Raiden and Sector, right? Raiden is a character again that goes back to like the first 6 month old meta, right? What do you call that move? I always forget. It's not
Storm
used as
Cell?
much anymore. Yes, thank you. So it was that into Cyrax or whatever, So so now he's kind of like good, but for different reasons. I think his buff is not as good as I initially thought it was going to be because it disappears on block, which is that I don't even know what you call it. I really don't see it that much,
I think it's
but
called
he's
the discharge or something, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah. I just want to give maybe the people who haven't played the game in a bit, just want to give them some cues. But yeah, so that one was probably not as good because it disappears from block and kind of does this electric explosion. But so we saw some of Rain. I'm sorry, some of Raiden as well. So again, I'm sure even if you are not necessarily the biggest fan of this game, it seems like it's in a much better place just visually in terms of the meta, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure everybody would agree with that. What do you think?
yeah, I agree 100%. And it was cool seeing one of the Chileans use Raiden Tremor, which was really awesome. Like making Storm Cell safe with the rock uppercut, and the 1100 health is pretty rare for Raiden to have usually, because usually he's getting paired with like Sector, Kano.
Volcano, right?
Yeah,
Occasionally.
so uh, that was really cool to see, and the buff that he got to like his new discharge move. I think it's a cool idea. I just think it's a little situational and has a little bit too much like setup involved to like pull off all the time. I think maybe it should have been tied with like how if he keeps blocking attacks he'll get the electrical like
Yes,
aura
yes,
around
yes.
him. I think it should have been tied with that instead of like having to set up the projectiles and then fusing or absorbing the projectiles after he gets like three of them.
Yeah, I agree with you, and um, that's kind of when I maybe switch directions a little bit. Again, the tournament looked good. The game looked good. I really have very few complaints in terms of how much the game has improved, and even though a lot of people are not talking, I feel like not enough people are talking about the improvements of the game. Um, or people are just getting sidetracked, and I hate to call out my good friend Tom and Mike. I think they're talking about nonsense issues. I really have to put that out there. When the game, I think, has legitimate cracks to criticize about, and one of the things I have to criticize the game about is just like the how offensive it is and how few options you have on the as a zoning player, as a zoning. I'm sorry, as a defensive player. The game really gives you very few options, and I do enjoy the game a lot more, but man, oh man, like playing like a zoning style in this game is just not fun. It just is not. You can play 85% correctly, and then Sindel hits you out competence Sindel, in combat league, and we saw what Sonic Fox did right over the weekend, and you just die. Like you just literally just die of like literally like a hit, a hit or two, and I've always been a strong proponent of not nerfing stuff, and I will continue to stick to that mentality to this day. And I know it's probably very unpopular with many people watching, especially on Twitter. But I do feel like in order for the game to improve, in my humble opinion, they need to buff characters like Peacemaker, give Sector a couple of buffs, probably to Quan Chi as well. Um, so like the quote unquote more like zoning defensive style characters. I think they should get a buff so the meta can shift a little bit. I don't mind offense being better. I think that's the era that we live in, especially if you look at games like Street Fighter or even Tekken, and some other ones. I'm 100% okay with offense being better, but does it need to be that much better? And that's kind of I want to ask you, want to bring you in and let me know what you think.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a over centralized meta with offense for sure. Like I would like to see other archetypes get some love too, like defensive play, trap characters, grapplers. I know they got some love with the Garrus buffs and the Reiko changes, but yeah, it just seems like rush down offense is the majority of the roster's game plan in this game, and the ones that don't have as good of offense, like Quan Chi, like he's supposed to be a zoner, but he's obviously as weak as he is. Peacemaker, they really balanced him for the worse. Like they just overdid the nerfs and never looked back at him. Tanya, same thing. I know Tanya's not a zoner, but she's like that's like part of the balance that I disagree with. Like just nerfing a character to the ground and then not doing anything to compensate their nerfs.
Yeah, I think speaking of Reiko, because I think some people probably will want us to comment. I think what they should do, since they made his projectile very limited, and I do appreciate NRS's attempt to redesign him, create more of a command grab character, more of a grapper, if you will. But I do feel like the EX command grab at this point should probably cost 1 bar. So when he actually hits you, when he gets in, he should be scary. Because right now, that's a character in combat league you almost never see. I mean, it's almost like it's he's almost invisible. Like you never see him. You never even see him competitive level anymore. Uh, maybe I've seen El Kukui like try once. He lost and then immediately switched. I think, with all due respect to NRS, I think they kind of failed with this design, the redesign, and I think they need to make certain adjustments. And I think that's the way to make the game even better is like you said, to give us more options, not just in terms of offense, but in terms of these all these other archetypes. I don't know what you would specifically do to Reiko, but that's one thing that I can think of. Make the I know he will do a lot of damage, and I know Twitter is gonna go crazy, but it's like, do you guys want to see more variety? Or do you not want to see more variety, or do you want to see another Havoc Sindel type scenario? Right, that's the question. And I think in order for Reiko to shine, you have to change some stuff and give him some more buffs up close. What do you think?
Yeah, like outside of like his down four is like his best footsies tool, but out like if they're not in down four range, Reiko's kind of just like in this awkward like stuck like his footsies are just very like limited to just down four. It seems like because his forward one, it's got okay reach, but it's 16 frames, so I feel like even if you land a down four on a hit, you're possibly going to get armored on a hit because you might not be plus enough to jail into your mid follow up. Like if you hit down four from like farther range than normal, then you might have to just
Yeah,
only be jailed into a down four again. So his options like in footsies are pretty meh. Which if you want to make him this grappler, then I would agree with that. That could be like one of his downsides. But like when he does get like a grab on you, like it should hurt. So I think making his meter burn command grab just one bar would be really helpful. And on the spot right now, I can't think of much else. But his forward four maybe could like use a buff. Like maybe it'd be a little bit safer because it's pretty death on block and it's just a straight hit. It just leads to a knockdown. Nothing too crazy.
you cut on my side. Which move are you referring to?
That it's like that turning kick he does, and it glows red and has like
Oh yeah, yeah.
a beam
What is it?
like
Forward
coming.
four? Forward four?
Yeah, it's a mid hitting
Yeah,
like kick, and
yeah. It's like what, like minus 14, minus 50 something. Yeah,
yeah, I think it is like minus 12, minus 14, and his
yeah, something like that.
the stand for like on hit reaction, like how it hits them away super fast. Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah. I know what you.
I think his stand four string should be like overhauled. Like it just scales too hard on the gravity side, and you can barely get any follow ups on it. It's really awkward to convert off of because I've seen like Rewind use it as like an anti air into like running knee, and then he'll get like a down one command grab, I think. But yeah, that the stand four strings kind of just whatever. I think it could use some love. 3-4 I think has it's either an armor gap or the second hits a high and you can interrupt it. So yeah, a lot of pretty much what I'm getting at is his neutral is pretty lacking outside of down four.
I think if he did enough damage, and if you could threaten him with a command grab, I think people would use him. Not everybody, but like the players who enjoy command grab characters like you. I know you wouldn't switch from gear as you told me, but you still like maybe use them as a secondary. Use them for fun. Um, which again at the end of the day is what you know the video game's all about, right? We want to
Oh yeah,
explore, we want to have fun.
another
Go
thing
ahead.
too. Yeah, I his parries in general in this game need some help too. But his parries kind of should
I
probably
think
like
that's
be
hard to
sped up a
balance.
little bit too.
We kind of saw what happened with Cage. Is, pairs in this game are hard to balance because I feel like when you waste meter, they should be faster, but I don't know, man. And
So
again, that's kind of my criticism of the game. It's just that like all the top characters like Sindel, we saw MK Javier with Scorpion, like they just literally mix you up, right? Ghostface to a lesser extent, Ermac, just these guys just do a crap ton of damage, and they put you in mix-ups, and if they hit you once or twice, they essentially win, right? Because the zoning in this game is, I think, in my humble opinion, very weak. So even if they hit, they get enough damage, they can kind of turtle you out, right? Ermac is the best example. Activates that whatever that thing is called, that green shield, and like if you're a strong player, like you know how to play footsies, you have good defense, like they're not gonna break you down at that point. Like when you do a 65% combo, for God's sake. Um, and again, I want people to understand. I don't want these characters nerfed because that Ermac stuff I could never do. I think it requires a lot of skill. I just want to see in this game right now a better balance, not perfect balance, because I think offense deserves to be stronger considering the era that we're playing fighting games in. But there has to be a better balance, and then right now I just don't see it. It's not fun to zone in this game. It's not fun to play defense because you just get blown up. I feel like I'm playing MKX without the safe armor launchers, and I would go as far as to say that MKX, I felt far more in control with Tremor, you know, during his armor days, when the low shatter and armor,
Yeah, the good
and then land into
days.
like a
The good
yeah,
days.
the good well, the good or bad days depending on your perspective, right? But well, let's talk about another character. You mentioned Peacemaker. What would you do with him? In my humble opinion, I would probably reduce the cooldown. Like he's supposed to be a zoner, he can't really zone. Like people pick fair for him. Like why? Like why am I using a zoner that's 50-50 mix ups nonstop when that's it's just very weird. Like I feel like the cooldown on the Eagly should be reduced so he can zone a bit better. That would help him a lot. Because that Eagly is one of the best projectiles in the game. It's just that right now tied to this ridiculously long cooldown that I feel like shouldn't be there. His 1-2 is great, so he's got the pressure. It doesn't really have any like overheads or necessarily not any lows, but they're starting to combos. So at one point he was obviously very very strong. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I haven't. I don't have too many ideas for Peacemaker at the moment outside of the Eagly cooldowns, because he does have some rushdown aspects to him. Um,
Yeah, this 1-2, I'm sure you would agree, is very strong.
yeah, that's one of the best strings in the game for sure. It's one of the few gapless plus unblocked strings, other than like
Yeah.
Sindel's 2-4 and um,
Yeah, his is +3. Hers is only what is it? Two fours +1 for third.
yeah, I think it's +1 or plus
Yeah,
two. Um, yeah, Eagly cooldown's the big one for sure. I would maybe do something to his EX force field, make it maybe have like the old properties of pre-patch normal force field, to where it had like the old active frames or duration, and I think any amount of projectiles it could absorb at the time. But I think it's just limited to two now. Correct? I think.
yeah, you're right.
And the meter burn one, I think, just pushes the opponent away if they're up close, and I think it still has a limit of. I think it still has a two projectile limit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know about the EX version because he's a character you don't need, like you barely ever see. Like so, um, so it's even like I agree with you. It's kind of difficult to comment, right? Because you never see him. Like he used to be like pre-patch Raiden and pre-patch Baraka. You would see that everywhere. You would see him now. You like you never see him.
Yeah,
Like if I play this game a lot. You know me, and you played a lot too. Like how many times in ranked do you run into a Beastmaker? Like
it's pretty rare. Yeah, like
almost never. Like maybe
yeah,
like once in a week at best.
and I think one thing that, not to harp on zoning and its state too much, but like I like this mechanic, but flawless blocking heavily hurts. Like you said with your Ermac example, if you were playing an Ermac player that had those Janet combos down, and again, I'm not asking for Ermac nurse. I love that stuff, but um, in a perfect world, if there was an Ermac player out there that was totally content with playing lame and just running away with a life lead, and being that he can get 60% with Janet with one touch, then you could be zoning him for as long as you do, and say you zone him and get like 50% worth of zoning on him, but the second he touches you, it's 60% from Janet into Death's Embrace, run away, turtle, flawless block them projectiles so you're not gaining meter. Like, that's really hard to come back from because you have to open up the Ermac player multiple times with your projectiles, which your projectiles might not even be doing that much depending on your character. And for the Ermac player to just be able to make one correct read or decision that leads to 600, as opposed to your like 10 on hit projectiles, like the odds are just super against you at that point. And flawless block, I think, is amazing. Like, it's not like what it was in MK11, thankfully. I like the aspect of it, making things punishable in certain scenarios. It really helps control the meter build in this game. Like past games had like a lot of complaints about like MKX Molina building bars super fast and easy with no counterplay, or MK9 Cabal with his dash cancels. Like flawless blocking helps control that meter situation, that meter problem. But it also hurts zoning really badly. Like if there's maybe like a cameo hypothetically that disabled the effects like temporarily of floss block, or if the character themselves had like if Quan Chi had a red portal if you were in its vicinity and it disabled floss blocking chip damage, like um, if you could still build bar with the projectiles on block regardless if they floss block or not, something like that, you know. You catch my drift?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think I don't want our audience to misunderstand. Like, I don't even want zoning to be like super strong, like it is in Justice 2 or even in Justice 1, and in the way, where in certain matchups the zoning was just like just way too strong. And I don't want stuff like that. I want zoning that's original, that's like engaging, that's fun, that requires skill, and um, that's what I would like to see. And I don't see that in this game, man. Like, and I don't want to make it about zoning, but I feel like in any 2D fighting game, if you just make the game about rushdown, which I genuinely think what this game is, it kind of gets boring to play. Like honestly, like, and I don't think the game can last too long if it just comes down to one thing, whether that's zoning, rushdown, or anything else in between. Right? I think you need to have diversity in gameplay styles, and that's why I want Peacemaker to get buffed, and another character I would like to see buffed is Tanya, and I think she's a lot easier to buff because that charge move, I forget what it's called, that has a lot of potential. They had the right idea, and unless they just didn't execute properly, because that charge just needs more perks, it needs more advantages. I'm gonna say it. I think the EX armor after charging should be safe, but it shouldn't launch. It should never launch with any cameo. Should probably give a knockdown, maybe something like Sandal's, like it should be like plus 40 or something like that. Maybe you get like half a charge, and then maybe you buff the projectiles from projectile from it. You give it some kind of special property more than what it does now, because that's a character again, just like Peacemaker, you never see anymore. I mean, she is incredibly rare, which tells me that she's arguably one of the weakest characters in the game, if not the weakest. What would you do to her?
I think giving her more perks off of the power up would be nice, like you said. I feel like they just don't give you enough worth. Like I think I know my changes or my suggestions were a little different from yours. Like I would make her the spin kicks cost like one or something by themselves. Like if you do it meterlessly, but maybe if you spend a bar for the armor, it'll cost two, but retain like the launching ability. And
Yeah, either like Kung Lao or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, but I know that's pretty similar to Kung Lao, so like I wouldn't mind your
Yeah,
suggestion
I don't
either.
want that exactly. That's why I don't want like characters to play the same. Um, because again, I think that kind of makes the game boring. I want to see like different. I want to see characters do different stuff, and I know I'm old school and you're a lot younger than I am, but to me, one of the things that distinguishes a good fighting game from a boring, a bad one is just variety. And if the game doesn't have that, in my opinion, it cannot be good and it cannot last for too long. Um, so I don't want her to play another like Kung Lao. Oh no, she's 2 meters and she's gonna launch you. Like no, make her play different.
I think another cool thing too is like she's one of the few characters with a parry. I think you can maybe tie something with her power up and her parry. I don't think it has any extra properties with the charge. When you parry something,
If you parry something, you do get a charge. I'm fairly certain about it though. So that I think the parry is probably okay. Honestly, it's just that
so you gain a
when
charge.
you
That's
charge
it.
something like Gears, like for example, look at Gears. Like when he charges, like he gets like, and you're gonna get upset, but essentially like a poor man's version of a breaker, right, with one bar, and you get a snap. That's something worth charging for. When you charge with her, what do you get? You get nothing. Like it's a joke.
No, that's a
There's
good
no reason to
example.
keep.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
comparison.
So like the chart is honestly it's just badly designed. Like give us more perks, like give us more advantages. Make the armor do something. Like make the projectile better. Like give us more options. And I think the character would be very good. Like would be very fun to use, and she wouldn't be as brain dead as she was previously. She would be fun.
Yeah, I think I feel like if she has a charge active, she should get like her parry should be faster. Okay, I think it's I want to say it's 8 frames right now. Like maybe if she has one or two charges, it's like 2 frames or something, but uses one or two charges if you successfully use
Yeah, I don't
them.
know, man. That's the problem you run into this game because it's so offensively. We remember when what was it when Cage's parry was like 1 frame or two,
Well,
whatever the hell it was.
to be fair, it costed a bar, so like it's not like he had to build up to get like better versions of his
No, no, I
parry.
don't mind, but it's
But I get what you're saying, like the potential revisiting that. And he could
yeah,
also
yeah, exactly.
he
The
could
game
also
is just not designed. Yeah, go
I
ahead. I'm
know.
sorry.
Oh no, I was about to say I know Tanya can hold her parry too, but
Yes,
Johnny's parry, um, it like it seemed like just harder to punish like than Tanya's. I don't know. Other parries don't have that holding property, if I remember correctly. Like Reiko's, you can't hold
look,
it.
I don't mind a fast parry, but
Um,
it's just one of those things. Like the way the game is designed, man. Like defense by design, this game is supposed to be very, very weak, just like in most modern fighting games. And I think in this game, defense is the worst. But um, it's just one of those things. Again, like with pre-patch Cage's parry, or to a lesser extent, I don't know, like Peacemaker's runaway game. If you make it too good, then it just kind of dominates the game, honestly, because you have something that no other character has that you can use defensively to get your offense started. And the game is just kind of designed to handle that. So the point is, I think you have to be really careful with the way you buff parries because they essentially kind of become like an armor move, right? More or less.
yeah, I mean it depends on. I mean, that could be said about anything, whether it be like grapplers or zoners or obviously everything should be carefully balanced. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like pseudo armor almost. But a lot of her strings, I believe, are like -6, -7. So she wouldn't be
Yes,
able
yes,
to armor, assuming that she's being countered at the
yes.
earliest
Great, yeah,
frames. So
great,
like
yeah, great point.
other than her 1-2 string and her 1-2-2, I think everything else is -6 and 7. Her back three and back 3-4 string, I can't remember, but I know her forward two is -7. Forward 2-1-1, I think also is -7. I think I remember Sparks telling me the frame data of her attacks on his visit. He was saying Liu Kang can 1-2 punish her if he reads it. So that is one way you could
Yes, yeah.
stop those mind games. If obviously that's one way to prevent any overly strong mind games from parries.
And the nerf term mid, what is it, 4-2? Right? Is it
Yeah,
4-2?
they slowed
So,
it down. They stealth nerfed it by 2 frames, or they made it slower by
yes.
2 frames, stealthily.
Yeah, so she got nerfed more, in the in the way that most people know it, which is the armor, obviously. So yeah, she just needs buffs. Again, she can contribute to more of the defensive meta that we like to see in this game. Armor should be safe with for full charge using EX, and I don't think she would be scrubby. I think she would be interesting. She would be about charges, kind of like Gears, but in a different way, but not quite in terms of armor um as Kung Lao. So there's a lot. She's a lot easier to adapt to than Peacemaker because she has a charge, and that's what I would like to see. Are they going to do it? I don't know. I hope they do. I don't have really high hopes, but I really hope they consider making her better in unique ways.
Yeah, because it's just unfortunate to see like, you use a character from day one, and then now they're like in the state they're in now. They get nerfed to the ground, and some people might drop a game because that happens, or they just don't have as much fun as they used to with the game because they didn't like any other character like they did before the nerfs. And
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate when that stuff happens.
Well, let me ask you. I know about a character you might be perhaps Stephen Gears the most passionate about is Quan Chi. I
Quan
think they
Chi
kind of shot themselves in the foot, walked themselves into the corner. I don't know what other
walked into an orange
expression
portal.
or yeah, whatever expression you want to use that I'm ignorant to cite. What would you do with that? I think he's hard to balance because the armor can be really good, but at the same time he has so many weaknesses. I don't know, man. What do you think?
You already know the laundry list I would give him, but before I get to that laundry list, um, I would be totally fine with making Orange Portal having a different effect, which I know is like an overhaul of some kind, but hypothetically, um, I would
You no, man. Keep it real. Like, do say stuff that
okay
we
with
know
like
that
so just
if
work with
they
the
listen,
current.
they're like, okay. If Lord Paul is like, okay, I'm going to do this because Franco, made this suggestion. Don't give me like the game is. They're not going to overhaul the character like this late in the game. Like, just stop. Give me likely changes that may happen, if any at all. And I don't think he's going to change. I think they're done with the character, but we'll see.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they're gonna change much about him, and if they do, it's gonna be very light and probably like not significant enough. But um,
Yeah,
I would make his uh, depending on your definition of like overhaul. Like I said, Orange Portal would just have different properties, nothing armor related. Maybe like my anti floss block
dude,
suggestion. I don't know.
they're not going to remove the arm of the orange. But what the hell is wrong with you? What are you talking about?
All right, all
Why
right.
do you
We'll skip that. We'll skip that. All right, all
stop
right,
being dumb?
all right. His purple skull.
Besides, I think him having the armor makes sense, right? Because he's supposed to have all these gaps, which he definitely does. So armor's supposed to be like covering his gaps, make his um, defense stronger because obviously he's very weak defensively. So I think that makes sense.
That's part of where they shot him
So
in.
where do you go from here? That's really the
That
$1 million question.
Yeah, Orange Portal's partially where they shot themselves in the foot, and along with his strings having lows and overheads and low tentacle, but uh, his
Yes.
purple projectile, when you meter burn skulls, it turns into the big skull.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, when you have the purple portal active, if you don't use any projectiles and you go straight into the meter burn big skull, it costs two like uses of the purple skull. So like how Quan Chi's usually when they set up purple skull they do meterless skull into meterless skull and then the purple portal goes away.
Yeah.
So with meter burn skull, like big skull, it goes away after one use instead of the two uses that you would get out of it with meterless skull. So I think meter burn skull should cost one use of purple portal instead of two. I
I
think
feel like look, I don't mind that change, but I feel like you're talking like specifics that may not be all that relevant. Like, why wouldn't you make the overhead better? And for example, when I look at Quan Chi, like Quan Chi players like doing the overhead, I'm like, okay, he's literally gonna cancel it. Like, like, I don't know why I think that, but it kind of looks slow. So I'm like, yeah, it should be canceled because like what 28, 27 frames or whatever the hell it is. So it literally like looks even like by cancel I mean like looks like dash like forward dash cancelable, back dash cancelable.
yeah,
I know it's not gonna add like too much to his offense. Oh my god, because we don't want him doing 50-50 mix up, then we go back to MKX Quan Chi and everybody hated that character. So I feel like that's something that should happen. Like make that cancelable so like if you expect it, maybe you can go he can go for a throw, or if they react and they try to do armor, you can maybe block in time. Just like stuff like that. I feel like they should be in the game.
Yeah, I agree
Maybe
with
give
that.
him a meter, yeah, give him like a meter burn purple. Like the zoning. I don't. Sorry
Meter
guys, I don't
burn
remember what all these
means
names are.
meter burn purple turns into green portal.
Correct, but like give it more, like make it stand out longer, so like in zone more, like just that type of stuff. I feel like
Uh,
they're missing on.
Meter burn skull, in my opinion, should eat like every projectile in the game except itself. Like I think it should be like the apex projectile in the game. Like I don't want to see meter burn skull trade with meter burn fireball from Liu Kang, because there's a lot of startup on meter burn skull. It's like
Yes,
40
yes.
something frames. Like that should
So,
eat. That should.
that's what I want to see. Like, yeah. No, I was just gonna say, like, I want to see, like, I don't want to see like moves completely changed, or moves that are already good be buffed. Like, giving buffs to like stuff that's not good, like the overhand, right? Because somebody like you is never gonna hit by that offline ever. Like, so what's the point of the freaking move? Like, make it do something.
You
Make it do
know.
something. Like, go
Oh, I'm
ahead.
sorry. I'm sorry. I was gonna
No, you
say.
go ahead.
You know how they made Rain's water beam move cancelable? Like, if you hold the charge, you can cancel into other special moves like Rain God
Yeah,
or Portal. I think you should be able to do that with his back too, maybe too. That'd be kind of cool. Like on top of the
yeah,
cancels.
yeah, yeah. For example, so, but the point is, I want to see like not good moves like be improved, not like because we're not gonna see an overhaul this time. It's pointless to talk about make him make the not so good moves, like make him actually original, make him unique, make him do something. And I think he can be a better character for it. I don't think he's ever going to be top tier just because of the way he plays. And honestly, let's be serious here. How many people would want him to be top tier? If Quan Chi were top tier, it would essentially mean like you're fighting armor all day long. Like you would just armor or zone you or go into mix-ups, right? It would essentially be like an MKX type character, right? And most people wouldn't want to fight that. And I think NRS, to their credit, recognizes that, and they don't want to go back to those days. So nonetheless, he could be better, and I think they can do a better job. So
I think something. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you just gonna ask me what
no,
I
no,
was
yeah,
thinking?
yeah, no, you go ahead.
I
No,
think
please go ahead.
I think his 4-2-1 string should be safe because it's just a knockdown mid string that's not confirmable. Like, I don't know why 4-2-1's like minus 13 on block or whatever it is with no pushback. It's not confirmable at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, I think that
Fair
would
enough for
help.
sure.
I don't know if you. I would be fine with him having 900 health if he was just stronger in other areas, Like his down one's obviously punishable. It's like minus 10 and 9 frame startup or something like that. Uh, he has gaps in everything. So I think with those weaknesses, it does warrant buffs in other areas.
No, I agree. I agree. And maybe I know there are other characters and that we can discuss, and we will save it for the tier list video that we will eventually will do. But I have to talk about my girl Sector. I don't know whether behind whatever the mattress or the black screen you're rolling your eyes, but oh my god. The one thing, I don't think it's even a buff. It's just a quality of life change, and you already know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Something that
Let's
hits
see whether you and
twice.
I.
Yeah,
What's
back
that?
back three into meter burn uppercut.
Um, yeah, the teleport, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, meter burn teleport.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, Paulo, Lord Disney, if you're listening, can you please fix this for God's sake? So, if I hit back three at a max range and I know I'm gonna whiff punish something, then I do the EX teleport, it just whiffs, and then I get punished. That is so infuriating. It doesn't happen like that often, but it's like it still happens, And we played offline, and it's just so fucking annoying, man. I get so as soon as that happens, I gotta take a shot, man. Like But can you blame me? Like, I made the right read, down one with Garrus, and I backed out. I'm I walked back or whatever. I backdashed, and then that happens, and then you do like this massive combo. It's just what that shouldn't even be a thing. I don't understand how this has not been fixed yet. Like if you're using um Mavado, it doesn't matter because you can convert anyway. But it's very very infuriating to have that happen. And I don't know what else you do with. I know like a lot of people say, "Oh, make the with faster." I think they will make it boring. I don't want to play a character like that. So let me ask you, like, how would you not necessarily like buff, but like what else would you fix in terms of like these quality of life changes? I know some people say like the instant aerial mid projectile like has a very inconsistent like explosion. I think that's another issue. I've had people just literally jump through it, walk through it. It's like, what is this, dude? Like, why is this happening? What do you think?
Yeah, I think her aerial projectile is like really inconsistent. Like I'll try to flawless block it, and I'll end up getting hit by it way earlier than I expect. Or sometimes it explodes in the ground. Sometimes it hits midair. It's like not really clear what it's gonna do. It's kind of unpredictable. I think if there was a way for the Sector player to either choose to explode in midair or on the ground, that would be cool. I don't know how you'd implement that. Like maybe if you hold the one button, it'll sink to the ground. But if you don't hold the one button, then it'll just explode midair. Obviously, the back three into meter burn teleport should be fixed, and I think her down back one homing missile should be like a little bit better. Like maybe take a little bit less frames to launch into the air, or like just come out or whatever. Like when she launches it from her gadget or whatever, just off the dome piece. That's what I
Yeah,
can think of.
yeah. I don't think she needs like massive buffs because she's another character, not as severe as Quan Chi, but if she's too strong, then because she does have a lot of good stuff like armor. She has save armor, one of the few characters who has that. She has a great jab. Um, she has arguably like the top two projectile in the game, top three at worst. Um, but if there's one thing I have to rant about, man, the teleport is so bad. Like, so they gave Noob this godlike teleport. I'm so scared of doing any projectiles because you randomly pop teleport into Janet or Mavado. He does like 30% into reset, whatever. And then I'm stuck with this teleport when somebody jumps randomly and I do teleport. It doesn't hit half the time. It's just so annoying. Like, why? Can I have consistency, please? And sometimes when you hit the teleport, like randomly, not after 1-1, but like, and you jump aerial 2-1-2, the second hit whiffs, like what the hell is going on, man? Like, make this thing consistent. Like, fucking test the character. Like, I want consistency. And if you're gonna make her like this zoning character in this damn game above all, like make people to zone. Like I shouldn't have to worry about some idiot jumping and my teleport whiffing. I am the zoner. I should be in control. When you come in, yeah, you can do your stuff and you can mix me up and kill me over 2 hits, as most top tier characters can do in this game. But like, let me have an advantage everywhere else on the screen. And if you can't handle that, then pick Sub Zero, and then you get your easy ass anti zoning, the easiest ever in my opinion of all time. So let's balance the game like that instead of the way it is right now. Am I exaggerating or?
No, I think your criticisms are valid. I mean, I agree.
Yeah. Real quick, would you buff any other like just briefly any other character you want to see buffed aside from the maybe the obvious ones that we I know we're biased right because you Quan Chi's one of your characters on Sector is mine, but just real quick, I don't know Ashra. I don't know what you would do to her. Oraka, no idea. Lime, I
Baraka,
mean,
I'd
comic.
give like a back three two buff to him. It's like that knockdown follow up after his back three. He like he stabs you like forward, and it just knocks down, but it's like -12, I think.
Yeah, it's like the plant, like it just like not plant, but like not too far away, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it just knocks you down, and there's like no way to convert
Yeah,
off of it if I'm not mistaken. Like no Movado even.
yeah.
So, like something like that for Baraka, I think would be like a nice quality of life change or whatever. It's like the safe route with back three because you can duck the launcher follow up of back three, which is back 3-1. Obviously on a read, but yeah, back 3-2 is just never gets used. Omni Man I think should get some buffs. Like I think he should have a command grab with the that string ender he does where he like throws you on the ground and does like the Loki slam on you that Hulk does to Loki. Um,
Do
that
you do you remember the notation? For some reason, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Ford
Do you know?
Ford 4-1 1+3. Yeah, I think it's
Fort 4?
yeah, it's that knee string into the uppercut, and then it's 1+3. It's either Ford 4-1 1+3 or Ford 4-2
Isn't
one
that a
plus three.
launcher? Four? Isn't that a launcher? 4-3?
No, Ford 4 is the normal it starts up with, not Ford 3.
Okay, okay, okay.
Ford 3 is that low kick that stomps.
Yeah,
It's that
I
double
think
take
his
low.
issue. I don't like. I think he's an anti-zoning zealot in a game that doesn't need anti-zoning zealots. But like, let's be serious here. That character, the only reason it's not top tier is because the mid range is kind of weak. If you make the clap better, he would be not like the EX clap, like just the regular one. I think it would be really, really strong because that's essentially his weakness, right? Because he can't really control that mid-range space and set up his offense very consistently because he just lacks options, right? But I will give Omni players a lot of credit because with Navado, dude, the conversions, dude, I tried them, dude. That shit's hard, dude. They are very difficult. Like the 45, 46% combos, EX clap from, mid range into, what is it, forward for whatever. Not I'm sorry, forward cameo with or is it up? I think it's up
Yeah,
cameo
up
into
cameo.
instantly like, dude, that shit's not easy, man. That is not easy to do at all. So I give Omni Man. I like the character seems kind of scrubby, but then you try those conversions. I think Mabalo is by far his best cameo, like at a competitive level. So I give him a lot of props for like knowing how to do all those conversions and not knowing how to play footies against characters like Noob. It's literally impossible, with him. So I give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, Omni Man I think is one of those characters you got to be careful with buffing too. Like, uh, he is an anti-zoner in a game with like weak zoning, but I think him having a command grab would be pretty cool. And if they made it to like if they just copied and pasted his 1+3 move from the string and made it a command grab, like it would be a command grab that sends you pretty much full screen, so you couldn't get like throw key off of it. Um, you can give it a meter burn version if you want. I don't know, and I think that would really help him a lot. I know Deadly Rebels suggested some aerial Viltrumite stance cancels. Like he should be able to do like fall down with a jump attack if he does meter burn Viltrumite stance in the air and like cancels it. He should be able to do like a jump attack on the way down. That'd be kind of cool. So he could do like a jump in, for example, meter burn Viltrumite stance, and then cancel it and immediately drop down with another jump attack. Like that'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your direction. I mean, I would like to see buffs to the regular, whatever, the hand clap. I think that's a fairly useless move.
Yeah, his aerial clap's pretty useless too,
Oh
especially
yeah, oh my
like
god, yeah, that's even like I most people don't even know that's in the game. So I think just like to summarize, there are like some useless moves that characters have, whether they're special moves or um like normal attacks that can easily be buffed to do something. Because right now, like for example, aerial clap, that's 100% useless move. Like again, if you even ask most people who play this game, like who watch, they will not even know that that's in the game. You know, like that's how bad the move is, which uh is not a good thing for the balance of the character and the game for that matter. So I guess the point is those are like the top. I would make fixes and obviously I would buff moves like that, and just to give players and spectators more variety, more options, more new stuff to watch. Because I do think that the game, it can always become stale, and it's not. I don't think we're at a point with this game, but if they refuse to patch it, I can see, we can definitely see like, oh my god, here's like the 50th Havoc I'm watching, or he's another Sindel, he's another Ermac, he's another Kenshi, and stuff like, and he's another Scorpion doing back three interfere, 50-50. Okay, that should be in the game. Can we get other stuff that's just as effective, especially on the defensive and zoning end? And that's kind of like my biggest criticism of the game.
yeah, I agree. It would be nice to see more variety.
Well, let's wrap it up and talk about. I do want to ask you. We do have a big tournament coming up in Europe. It's Viennality. Well, I don't want to speculate too much. We'll see how many players there are and how what that what the European, if you will, what that meta turns out like. So we'll save that discussion for another time. So that should be coming up tomorrow as of the recording of this podcast. But let me ask you, I have to ask you about the future of this game, especially in terms of the content. What do you think will happen?
I think, ah man, we already saw the reveal for T1000 with Madame Bo, but after that, I'm thinking there'll just be a few more balance patches. Mm, maybe. So, I heard there was more DLC slots through data mining, but whether they're going to use them or not, I don't know. I honestly, I don't really know how to. I'm not really sure what they're going to do. Um, I guess they. I know. I have a feeling there's going to be more patches, like balance patches for sure. But
I'm not doubting that.
outside that, I really don't have any other ideas of what to think. To be honest, I'm sorry for the underwhelming answer.
You don't think the game is done in terms of content, though? Like, people give leakers a lot of like a hard time, but aren't they usually right? Like, not the some random trolls on Twitter or Reddit, but like the ones with credibility, they're usually right. And if they're wrong, they're like wrong 10 to 50. They're like, okay, they missed one character, or the leakers got Heihachi, Tekken wrong. Like, oh, okay, but who cares? Like, they were right about everything else. So I don't want this game to end. I think it can survive for another 2 years, but just like any other modern game, it will need content. It will need support. And I agree with you that I think there will be patches, but is that enough to get this game through? I think through this combat tour, yes. But will it be enough to get it to another Evo for it to have another combat tour? I don't know, man. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't see another pro tour happening. I I think you definitely need more than just balance patches to keep the game relevant for a few more years too. I don't. So I do think they are going to release more characters, but however many, I don't know. I'm gonna just say two more primary or two more main characters, and then
Like characters, not cameos.
yeah, I think other than Madame Bo, we've heard there's going to be Harumi, which is like Scorpion's wife in the story. I think, in my, if I just guessing here, I think they add two more main roster characters and two more cameos. One of them being Madame Bo, the other being um, Harumi. But yeah, I think you need more than just balance patches to keep the game relevant for a couple more years. And I don't. I'm just gonna guess they're not gonna end the DLC with T1000. Like I don't think they're gonna leave off a guest character to finish off the DLC. I think that will leave a lot to be desired for the community.
Well, I think we know if Warner Brothers WB pulls the if they pull the plug. I mean, it doesn't really matter at that point what NRS wants, right? If they don't have the resources, there's no money and anything else for time. They're not in charge. They have to follow what the publisher does because the publisher funds them. I don't know, like I don't know the subtleties of everything, but we know that NRS get not NRS, sorry, like WB gives provides the money, the resources, and then they do what they do. Like that's just how it works.
Yeah, I guess
I
we'll
hope
have to
I'm wrong,
see.
but I think this might be it after T1000 and um, Matt and Bo. I hope I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that might be it for the game, guys. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
I really hope there's more too,
we have
because
to
I
keep.
genuinely enjoy the game.
Yes, so do I. I know I'm very critical about the meta in terms of defense and zoning because I think it's very weak, but I still play it and I enjoy our sets and I enjoy playing Combat League, but I do play other fighting games and Tekken 8 has a big patch coming up and I'm very doubtful about the patch and that's another conversation for a different day, but I don't trust the changes and because I think the community is mostly ignorant and doesn't know what it wants. But beat that as it may. Um, but again, the game is fun. I would like to see more content uh, in terms of actual characters as well as cameos. But based upon what we have heard, and we know that Chaos Reigns probably did not sell very well, and WB they're in it for the not that other companies are benevolent and they're all about the community that of course they just want to make money. Let's be serious here, but WB, like, they don't give a damn. Like, it's like, where's the money? If they don't make money, like, okay, another game, shut it down. So again, unfortunately, I do think the Lika is probably right, and I'm not convinced that we will see another character, another cameo, but I really really hope that I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's also where I'm at. I'm hoping there's more, but I'm not getting my hopes up. Because, like I said, I do enjoy the game. Like, I have my criticisms on what I don't like. Like, I don't like how easy it is to enforce jump kicks into full combos, and the wake up system allowing wake up buttons here and there still. But yeah, I like really have fun playing Garrus. He's so flexible with the cameo system. I could play him all day and just I never get sick and tired of playing him. He's always going to be fun to play.
What's the next tournament that people can see you, can watch you?
So I registered for Combo Breaker, and I want to go to CEO and I want to go to Texas Showdown, but I haven't registered for either yet. Texas Showdown, I think, is in the last weekend of March, and CEO, I believe, is in July, like early July. Combo Breaker is in the last weekend of May.
It would be nice to go to Evo, man, but it's expensive, ain't it?
Yes, two
I,
hundo
I
for
I haven't been,
registration.
yeah, I haven't been to Evo in a while, man, but it would be nice to go to Vegas and enjoy the weather and compete and see some of the old boys. But yeah, it's not cheap nowadays, is it? So um, so what you're saying is you will attend Combo Breaker for sure, and then the other ones are less likely. You're not going to Evo for sure, are you?
Yeah, I'm not going to Evo for sure. The other two are maybes. Uh, I would say CEO is pretty likely. Texas Showdown, not as likely, but I would like to make that happen.
Yeah, yeah, because you went to CEO last year because we were rooming, which was super fun, right? It
Yeah,
was.
yeah. CEO was a blast.
Yeah, we had a great time. You and me,
All,
Master D.
all I'll say is Sicily's pizza.
We'll tell the people the story. Yeah, we'll share the story another time.
Stay
People will
tuned for
enjoy it.
that. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for the story of the pizza place.
Oh my god, that's
Yeah, that
awesome.
was. Oh yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, man, it's good to. Obviously, I'm far older than you and most of the FGC. Probably not. I'm not as old as like Vian, Tom, and Sako, but it's still good. Once in a while, you're good to compete, and it's fun, and it's good to hang out and play the video games that you grew up with.
Yeah, it was cool watching you guys play. I had the sets I
Yeah,
wasn't able to
we did.
watch.
I
It
didn't enter
was
MK at that point because yeah, I did like the game, but it was fun to play Tekken and compete and watch players like Atif and Anakin, and people like that. So it was fun. Um, I would like to go to Evo, but as I keep spamming the talking point, it's not fucking cheap, man. It sucks. But I would love to go to Evo because it's been a while, and it would be nice to go to Combo Breaker as well. But I know you said the registration fee is kind of like expensive. It was like $100 and something, right? Is that what you said?
I think it's at 90 something. I think just to register, like, and then plus your games, which I
Yeah,
registered for MKX and MK one. So I think I think it totaled out to like 115 or something.
yeah.
And I think it's
It
that's
seems
early
similar
bird. I
to
think
Evo.
too. I think that's early bird still, but they
Yeah,
might
yeah,
have changed it
yeah.
since I registered.
Well, last question. I think I would like to ask you about. I don't want to call it a resurrection, but I think at least in Ohio, at least in our scene where we live, I'm not a guy to talk about like specific geography, what we do and stuff like that. But like, I guess you would assume there's a little bit of a resurrection, right? In where we live about MK1. Seems like you play with competitor and THDB. I don't know if you guys remember him. He's an old school reptile player. Plays DJ in Street Fighter 6. That's his main game. Your brother plays occasionally. I mean, I guess we have had a little bit of a resurrection. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, a little bit.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Can you hear
So
me?
I can
Yeah,
hear
go
you.
ahead.
Yeah. I just said yeah. That's all. But yeah. So yeah, my brother doesn't play too often. Like he played a bit when Conan came out, but I think he's burned out on Conan already. Um, but um, we met Demoralize the week that Sparks visited, and they're both in CR together. Critical Reaction. Um, Demoralized being the Garrus player from Elyria, of all places, Elyria, Ohio. What are the odds that Ohio is just infested with Garrus players? um, then the very first local I went to for MK1 in Ohio was in Columbus, and they have a few MK1 players there. I don't know if they're still actively playing MK1 now, but there's a few people that played down there. I hope they still play because I would like to try to get something going with all parts of Ohio one of these days. Um, I'm not sure if Toledo or Cincinnati play at all. Um, but then we got competitor, like you said. He's I want to say 35 minutes away from me. THTB. He plays offline, but unfortunately he mains PC, and PC has a really poor online connection. From what I hear people say, it's like unplayable. Um, and then we got some new blood players. We got Deerden, which is like a Sub Zero Darius player that we met from Akron a little recently. Um, we met up with Weird AJ came through recently. He's using Natara. B Wood, the Shao Kahn player that uses Sector, is in the Cleveland area, I think.
Oh, he does,
Yeah, we didn't meet him,
dude. I
but
never knew that. He competes a lot, like online. I see him all the time, like doing very well. You never told me this. Has he ever been to competitors' place?
no, we never met him. Uh, he played in the Ohio
Okay,
team battle though against.
I do remember. Has anybody? Have you guys reached out to him though?
Yeah, we talked to him, and he was a maybe for competitor's house, and he just didn't come through. I think he
Okay.
had, I think,
Is he
family.
like your age? I'm just curious. Like,
I
just like, because I
I
know
honestly have no idea.
you don't know.
I don't know nothing.
I'm just curious, like in terms of like transportation, all that stuff.
Yeah,
So
I think family stuff came up on his end for competitors. Um,
yeah, I never knew he was from Ohio.
the Natara player from the team battle we played with too, Isaiah. He's also in Ohio, but I don't remember where in Ohio. And
Dude, we got the players for sure. Like I mean, we always kind of have. It's just a matter of, I guess, people liking the game, coming out, being motivated. Um, enjoying the game, enjoying the company of the local scene. We have always been one of the premier NRSs, NRS competitive season in the United States when we actually like try.
yeah, we were really strong in MK9 and Injustice One, for sure.
Yeah, because of console combat. Yeah,
Oh man, good
yeah. Shout
times.
out to obviously like Master D, Playing to Win, THTB, old school players like Ribs. I know certain eyes will be rolled, but of course, Perfect Legend, Carl White. Um, yeah, I mean, we've always been one of the better scenes in the United States as far as NRS games are concerned, or even the other games for that matter. But COVID obviously has changed stuff, and
Yeah, a lot of
costs have
things
gone up,
online.
and
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of things have changed, and it's life is different now in the FGC. So, but it feels good, if you like a game, you can still get games offline, and that's nice.
Yeah, that's one unfortunate thing MK1's going through right now too is the difference from online to offline is huge. It is like when I play Street Fighter online and play it
Yes, yes,
offline, it feels a lot more similar than the offline online difference from MK1. Like it's really hard for me to
yeah,
consistently get my sand clone setups to go. Like it's hard for me to execute them online because I'm so used to offline and vice versa. Like there's sand clone setups I physically haven't landed online like ever because it's just so difficult to get that link online to come out. I've only landed those links offline, like in our sets or sets with competitor or my brother.
No, I mean, I don't even need to hear your argument. I just believe you from your actions. So when Frank, when I play offline, well, let's start with online first. I can hit it with the over like 30%, 35%. That's a fair percentage, right? To say.
I would
I don't
say
think I'm
no.
being
I
biased. Or
would say it's higher online. I would say like ninety
yeah, it's
percent.
probably even
I would
higher.
say ninety
But you guys have to
percent.
think. Like, you have an over that's like 24 frames, right? Which that's another whole discussion. I don't know why they would design the game like this. It's dumb. It's kind of like given, like when you play Tekken and you fight like a Brian that does the snake edge, which is like that sweep that launches. They made those sweeps slower on purpose, not because of offline, right? They made them slower because of online. And if you play Tekken Tag 2, which obviously most people don't nowadays, like they had more of those stupid sweeps that are like reactable offline rather easily, but they're like 25, 26, 24 frames. That's this game with its overheads. Sub Zero players are getting away with murder. Like they are. Like you cannot react to the overhead. Like not consistently at least. So they essentially they have a they have a semi unreactable launcher. The same is true for Sector's back too. Her overhead is also like 24 frames, just like Sub Zero's. Again, I don't know why they keep designing like this stuff when they know most people will play online anyway. Make the character, give the character something else, give the character something different aside from this garbage. So what that happens, I play online. I hit him like 45% of the time. I play offline, dude. I try the overhead on Franco, 50. Let's say if I tried it like 50 times, I will hit him with maybe like 3 times, and it's mostly because maybe he whiffed like a down one, and you guys know Gears is down one, doesn't reach anything. So essentially it's a shimmy. It's not even a legitimate mix up. So stuff like that, like it opens your eyes about the game and like how fake certain characters are. And I think ironically it makes the game less balanced because online, yeah, everybody gets a 50-50. Yay, we're playing MKX. Good job. But offline that's not the way the game works. When people can actually react to stuff, when they break your throws more consistently, when they react to your false staggers, the game changes completely. And that's why you have a character like Sindel that's super strong because her mix up is legit. You're not blocking. Do you think you can block like Sonic Fox's Vortex consistently with Sinel? What do you think? Offline? I know I'm putting you on a spot here, but you're probably not going to react to consistently, right? Because it's a pure 50-50, right?
Yeah, it's
Based
pure.
on how long.
It's
Yeah,
pure mix. That is pure mix.
yeah. Those are the characters who win in this game, and a lot of this other stuff is 100% fake because either online or sometimes like people don't have the right defense, and that's fair enough. But that's really the game. Like there's a lot of fake shit in the game. There are a lot of gimmicks, a lot of overheads. Like I can mention them. Sonya's overhead, Scorpions. I mean, you name. There's a lot of that fake stuff in the game that people are going to get away with. But when you play the game offline and you can actually react to stuff, the game, like Franco says, changes completely. It's very, very different. And now what you're left with is the top tier characters who have actual mix ups and these other characters who have fake mix ups.
Yeah, you always want to base tier lists off offline play. So like Sub Zero on an online tier list might be top 15, top 10, but offline might be like bottom 10.
And Sector is better too, I'm sure you would agree.
Yeah, I get hit by that overhead like 9 out of 10 times online.
You'd like a little better than that, but yeah, you get hit by it. So it's like so that's where I'm like, guys, I'm playing a game, I'm trying to enjoy it, and I'm just like confused sometimes. Right? Like it's like you play the game online, oh my god, he's doing well with Sector, but now I'm not even using the overhead online because I think it makes me a worse player.
Yeah,
What's the point of using it online? Yeah,
that when
go
we had
ahead.
our phone call a couple days ago, you were saying like after we played online again, after playing our offline set, I just respectfully didn't use the overhead on you because I know offline it's not going to land, so it's like pointless to fish for it. And I'm like,
Exactly. So
that's
it's
hilarious.
fake. No, I mean, to this day, like I haven't really been using it all that much because I know it's gonna hit online, but I know it's fake. So it gives me a false sense of confidence about beating people, about leveling up, and it's just not true. Now there are real over. It's like Kung Lao's, right? I hit you with that like what 40% of the time, even offline, right? But that's because it's 18 frames and it's a lot harder to react to. So that's different. But yeah, that's again. I don't understand. I don't blame the players obviously for abusing it. I blame the developers for developing something like this. I don't understand why this is in the game when you know again most people play your game online. Why are you adding this in the game? These overrides are 24 frames. Let's say there's 3, 4 frames of input delay or whatever you want to call it online. That turns the over into 21, 20 frames. That's literally on the verge of human reaction. Don't do this in the next game, please. Make better judgments and design better characters, like design better moves.
Yeah, like when designing characters, like when designing like Sub Zero, for example, like you know 99% of the time he's going to have an ice clone. Like, do not give him like a overhead starter or a low starter. Like, just mostly give him mids. And if you give him an overhead or a low, just at most give it like a knockdown, you know? Or Quan Chi, for example, like when designing Quan Chi, like I would not have given him a string that leads to overhead low mix up. I would have just kept him strictly mostly mids. And again, if anything
I
was to
know,
be an
but you
overhead
know
low,
why they did this. I think the reason are obvious. If you're not going to give him that overhead, which is again, it's essentially fake, the fake mix up most of the time, then you have to make him good in other ways, and you know what those other ways are, and they don't want any of it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So essentially, then it would come down a game to like strong defense is zoning against strong offense and rush down, and
well,
that's not really, yeah, that's
that's
not really how most people want to play it. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that was alright. That was just, that's where that's that's the price you got to pay if you want to add variety to the game and archetypes. You know, it's just part of
Well,
fighting
most people
games.
do not, and I think NRS, neither does NRS, and I think it's a lot of people may not be obvious, but again, if you're not gonna give a character a strong offense, then they need to make it up with something else, right? Maybe they can be a command grab character, or they can be like Nintara, or like something different, or they can be a strong defensive or zoning character. But most people don't want to play those type of characters, right? Because they're polarized and people get triggered by those characters, and
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
kind of like the if you remove all. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say like that's why you make like a certain amount of those characters. Like you know you obviously you want the majority of characters to be rushed down because visually to an audience, casual or
Yeah,
competitive, it's just what's popular and entertaining to watch. But you had like an oddball character that could zone like Predator and MKX. He was very one of the very few zoners in the game that could zone, but he was like one of what two zoners, three zoners out of a
yeah.
roster of 30 something characters. Like that's like a pretty fair balance of zoning. Like you know, so if you want the lesser, like obviously I'm one to want variety and archetypes, but if I was to allow any archetypes to exist, I would want the lesser appealing ones to have an existence, but just not a high,
Yeah, limited quantity.
a limited, lower quantity, limited presence. Lower quantity is a better word.
I'm with you 100%. That's why again I don't mind Rushdown being stronger, I wouldn't just say it's the right thing to do. It's the intuitive thing to do, right? Because when you watch the game and you play the game, probably gonna start trying to like in practice mode. If you're a new player, you're gonna practice your combos, and then if you don't practice your combos, you can probably practice your like wake up, right? Your Oki setups, right? And that's what's most natural, what's most intuitive about the game. Zoning really, is not. And I agree with Franco. Those characters need to be kept on the leash in terms of like quantity, in terms of execution, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's really a lesson for them to learn in the next game, whatever they decide to do. Um, and I hope, and not just hope. I think they can do a much better job than what they did with this game. Because again, it's a little bit too monotonous, and the Sandal stuff and the Havoc. It's like, okay, guys, I get it. Hard to blockables. They're good in this game. I get it. You guys did a good job. Can we have something else now? It's too repetitive. It's too monotonous. Like MKX was to me towards the very end.
I really apologize if you can hear my cat scratching the door. Like I cannot help that other than just letting her outside right now.
No, yeah, I know. I don't hear it. But I
Okay.
think this is a good time to wrap up. Let me. I'll give you the last word in a second, but let me thank you guys for listening. We will have guests on. Tom Brady's coming. He's our friend. We will have probably Cherney on, Cowboy. Probably pick up the hot, some of our closest friends, and then we'll find other people. Hopefully they're available and they're willing to come on. But it is Burrito Voorhees, King Jr.'s channel. I'll give him the last word. He deserves all the props because he's the one hosting. He put in the work. He's recording. And I hope you guys listen and give us some feedback in the YouTube comments because we will definitely be sure to listen.
Yeah, definitely be
Mr. Burrito Voorhees, your last word. Go ahead.
definitely be reading those comments. Like I said, I do plan to go to Combo Breaker. I'm gonna try to make Texas Showdown and CEO. But yeah, I'm just glad to finally get this podcast started and would like to have many more episodes to come. And like we said, guests. And yeah, just stay tuned into the Nexus podcast.